Azure Migrate is designed to help you in every step of your migration or modernization journey, from envisioning the ROI of cloud migration and identifying the ideal migration targets for your on-premises workloads, to eventually helping you move and run your workloads on Azure. We are evolving the application-aware experiences that we announced last year to help you decide, plan, and execute migrations or modernizations of your multi-tiered applications as a holistic unit. I can easily find Azure Migrate by simply searching for the service by its name on the Azure portal. First, I will create an Azure Migrate project, which helps ensure that my data is stored securely in a compliant manner in my tenant. I can import workloads and applications into Azure Migrate using CSV, popular utilities such as RV tools, or configuration management databases, etc. I can also discover them using the upcoming Azure Migrate Collector, which allows me to collect information without opening connections to Azure, enabling an offline data collection workflow. The collected data can be subsequently imported into my project for analysis. Azure Migrate Collector enables ROI analysis and assessments within hours. I can also use the Azure Migrate appliance, which lets me collect information continuously so that it is always up to date and in sync with the changes in my IT estate. The connected appliance can help me discover applications and workloads irrespective of the underlying hosting technology, covering VMware, Microsoft Hyper-V, bare metal servers, as well as IaaS services of other public clouds such as AWS EC2, without the need for deploying any agent. Moving on to a project that I have already created. For this demo, I have already discovered the IT estate I intend to migrate. Azure Migrate's experience is intended to help me navigate my migration journey in a structured manner. I can start by inspecting my inventory and fixing discovery issues, identifying software and security recommendations, visualizing dependencies, and creating applications, building a business case to understand the value of migration, creating assessments and waves to plan migration, and then finally execute and track the migration plan. At any point of time, I can seek help. Further, the new table of contents helps me navigate discovered information, analysis reports, and track progress of migration or modernization. Inventory views help me identify the infra, web, and data tiers of my applications, covering Windows, Linux, PostgreSQL, and SQL database servers, .NET, and Java web apps, as well as installed software. I can review recommendations covering alternatives for critical software running in my environment so that I can repurchase them from Azure Marketplace or move to SaaS-based alternatives as I migrate to Azure. I can also review important insights around security pertaining to my environment. Here I can see that 59 servers in my environment have security vulnerabilities that can be rectified by using Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and 195 servers have updates pending, which can be rectified by leveraging Azure Update Manager. With the new experience, you can effortlessly organize discovered workloads into neatly defined applications. Let's focus on AirSonic, an app that I am interested to analyze and migrate. Through the new dependency analysis experience, I can not only identify the boundaries of a multi-tiered application, but also the workloads that power it. Azure Migrate automatically enables dependencies on my servers. Further, I can analyze the strength of the connection, helping me differentiate between an ephemeral or recurrent dependency. I can see that it is a two-tier app, where the web tier powered by Java is communicating with data tier powered by PostgreSQL via port 5432. I can now group the workloads together using tags. I can then define the application by specifying properties such as name, type, indicating whether it is an in-house built custom application or a packaged application. Adding the filtered list of workloads that were tagged and specifying properties such as criticality, complexity, etc. Similarly, I can define other applications running in my environment, such as Parts Unlimited, which has a web tier based on .NET, and data tier is based on SQL Server. To envision savings and ROI for migrating to Azure, I can create a business case covering all the applications and independent workloads in my IT estate. From the business case, I can see that modernizing to PaaS is a good choice for my applications, as I can save up to 50%. Further, business case helps me model year-on-year cash flow for my migration project. I can see with time I stand to gain a lot of value from this effort. Further, I can clearly identify that modernizing will help me contribute towards sustainability initiatives of my company. The financial model covers considerations across Azure Savings Plan, instance reservations, and Azure Hybrid Benefit. I can also identify the investments I need to make in respective migration strategies across rehost, replatform, and refactor, both for my applications as well as independent workloads. Although the business case adheres to industry standard benchmarks, I can modify the assumptions to generate a more context-specific business case. I can build a high-confidence migration plan using Azure Migrate assessments and wave planning experiences. Assessments help me identify the recommended migration strategy covering rehost, replatform, and refactor, ideal target Azure service, right-sized SKU, estimated cost, as well as migration readiness. I will pick the two core applications in my environment, AirSonic and Parts Unlimited. Further, as I create an assessment, I can select region in which I want to deploy the application, the environment of my application, the desired offer or plan, pay-as-you-go or Microsoft customer agreement, etc. Additionally, I am able to modify workload-specific advanced settings, such as preferred pass services for my web tier. Having selected the desired settings, I will now proceed to create the assessment. The application assessment provides recommendations based on my migration preference. In this case, my preference is to modernize to pass, as that approach accrues substantial savings, as we saw from the business case report. I can see that at the outset, Azure Migrate is recommending me to replatform both the applications. Going deeper, I can see that the estimated cost for running AirSonic on Azure Pass is roughly $148, and that it is ready for migration to Azure, but may require some changes at the outset. Further, I can see its web tier is recommended to be migrated to Azure App Service, and its data tier is recommended for Azure Database for PostgreSQL Flexible Server. Further, I can identify details such as the recommended configuration as well as the recommended migration tool. I can go deeper to identify details of what would it take to make this PostgreSQL server ready for modernization. I can see that I can improve the assessment analysis by adding code insights from Cast Highlight or GitHub Copilot assessment. Since the development team behind AirSonic already used GitHub Copilot, I will request code insights using GitHub Copilot assessment. I use request report via GitHub method so that the development team can simply upload the GitHub Copilot assessment report to GitHub issues, and Azure Migrate will automatically pull the insights and update the assessment. After code insights have been incorporated, I can see the recommended strategy has updated from replatform to refactor, and a significant effort is required to make the changes. I can review the changes as well for my reference. Similarly, I add code insights to Parts Unlimited as well, but this time using Cast Highlight. Here I can see that recommended migration strategy continues to be replatformed since the code changes required are minimal. Note that at any point of time, I can modify the preference, and Azure Migrate will recommend the appropriate strategy. To sequence migrations, I can use the Azure Migrate Wave Planning experience. Considering I am pressed for time, I intend to quickly rehost the AirSonic application to Azure VM using the lift and shift recommendations. Subsequently, I will replatform Parts Unlimited as it required minimal code changes, as we saw earlier. The new wave planning experience helps me sequence and track my migrations. Once planning is complete, Azure Migrate helps me through my execution journey as well, by guiding me to the right place for next steps. I can even use its native capabilities to do a lift and shift migration to Azure VM. Since I am pressed for time, I will lift and shift the AirSonic application. Using the Azure Migrate Wave Planning experience, I can launch the integrated, zero data loss Azure VM migration experience to rehost the servers powering AirSonic to Azure VM. Once the server replication starts, I can track its status from the Migrations Tracker screen. Here are the migrated servers. Here is the migrated application. Talking about Parts Unlimited, from assessments, I identified that it can be modernized with low to no code changes. I will proceed with modernization. Here again by launching the relevant experiences from Azure Migrate. Here I can quickly launch Database Migration Service and replatform the data tier of the application to the recommended Azure SQL Managed Instance configuration. Here is the modernized data tier of Parts Unlimited. After the dev team of Parts Unlimited makes the requisite changes we saw earlier, I can use App Service Migration Assistant to replatform the web tier of Parts Unlimited to the recommended App Service code configuration. I can also review the status of migration from the wave planning experience. Now, since the underlying workloads have been modernized, I can finally run the application on Azure. In summary, Azure Migrate's upgraded experiences helps you navigate through complex multi-year migration projects. It helps you identify and visualize your workloads and applications with ease, understand the savings that would accrue as you migrate to Azure, Create a high-fidelity migration plan to migrate your applications based on your migration preferences to help you identify the right migration strategy and eventually migrate a complex environment covering infra-data apps with confidence. Thank you.